Welcome to What's Important to You, the podcast where we explore purpose, passion, and the moments that truly matter. I'm James Dean, and each week I sit down with inspiring guests to uncover what drives them, inspires them, and what's important to them. What if real freedom wasn't just about financial success, but about curiosity, courage, and the lessons learned along the way? In this conversation, we explore the journey from entrepreneurship to self-leadership, and how resilience, risk, and purpose can shape a life of growth and fulfillment. It's about taking chances, learning from failure, and discovering what truly matters beyond success. Today, we find out what's important to Doug Crowe. Hi, Doug. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You bet. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely loving it. So we're going to go straight into it, Doug. The first question, which is, what's important to you?
Oh my gosh. There's like a humorous answer, a straight answer, then the typical answer. So typical one is you're always going to say your health, relationships. The one that I was interviewing a client last month, and he said, money. Most people don't like to say that because it sounds so shallow, but it's actually true. And I would go one step further, say it's not just the money, it's the freedom or financial stability, independence that allows you to be free and healthy and empowered and all that stuff. So I would just say the words of some kind of a blend of financial and health freedom, I guess would be the way I'd phrase the question answer.
Yeah. Love it. No, it's a really interesting one actually, because it's funny because not many people say it, because you say for that exact same reason. They think, oh God, if I should say money, but it's genuine because, and I have to go straight off into a story there because it's funny. Like, so years ago, so I'm in Ireland. So if you're getting married in a Catholic church in Ireland, you still have to do what they call a pre-marriage course for the priest and everything. So you kind of have to go along to a hotel, like, function room for a day, and there'll be someone takes you through various different things about relationships. And the lady who was doing the thing, at one point, she just said, she's very sort of glib, which is like, all you need is love, sort of thing. And then she says, it's wrong. You actually need money as well. And it was that. And it's that sort of honesty of like, you do, let's have a look. There's a layers below it, but you do need it. And I think it ties it underneath to the financial freedom to do the stuff that you said.
And here's the rub. There's been plenty of studies, especially published lately, that after, and this is Western numbers now, but after 75,000, the more you attain financially does not increase your happiness. And right around that mark, you're like, hey, I got food, shelter, clothing. I'm pretty good in the Western society. So everything else is just first world problems and stress that we put upon ourselves, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's getting to that, I suppose that point, and then you can go further. So when you, for yourself then, when you talk about then the second part of it, in the sense of having that financial freedom, what does that enable you to do if you get to that point for yourself, do you reckon?
It's a double-edged sword. I've talked to plenty of people in my client base who sold their companies and they retired with millions of dollars. And some of them are happy. Most of them are, quite frankly. But a lot of them get this crossroads of like, okay, I'm too young to really retire. Now what? And, one case, a gentleman, his kid, forgot when his birthday was. He goes, okay, I got to sell his company. My relationship with my family is going down the tubes. He sold his company, had a nice exit, and started working on his hobby. And his hobby was actually making knives. He was really good at crafting knives and ironwork and steelwork and whatnot. He's an entrepreneur. So what do you think happens with his little hobby? It turned into $1 million business within about 6 months. And he's back into it because he can't stop himself from doing what he loves, which is building and growing companies. So, that's just an example of, it's an important thing to find what you like doing. A lot of people use the word purpose and passion and whatnot.
Yep.
However that works for you, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to save the world, but you do need to save yourself. And from that, you can save others if that's part of your path.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think I think I'm glad you used those words, because it's a little bit of, they can be kind of, not I say misconstrued, but it can be given too fluffy in some ways, in a sense of like, and it's kind of like, I get it, but as you say, it's trying to pair those two things again. As you said, there's got to be, if you're meeting all your needs, you're meeting all those financial needs and getting through the life that you want to live, great, and then pursue something. But it's trying to, I don't know if that word is balance or harmony. People use a different word, but it's going after something that the people who just stop, I suppose, and then become miserable because they think, oh, I'm going to enjoy it now. That's where they're kind of, you got to find something that's going to keep you challenged, I think, occupied, continue to grow. Otherwise, you will just become frustrated.
It goes back to one of my good friends has everybody talks about leadership. He talks about self leadership. And we've seen this in a lot of different areas from divorce rates and business failures and relationship challenges and working with teens. If you can't have a good relationship with yourself, it's really hard to have a quality relationship with others. And again, it sounds kind of woo woo, but it's true. If you don't know how to, if you don't know what your strengths, weaknesses are, if you don't know how you operate, your own internal operating system, it's very difficult to engage with others authentically and with purpose. So I think that, yeah, there's a lot of stories of people who are miserable when they retire or miserable when they sell a company. It doesn't happen that it happens, but I don't think it's the bulk of people. Most people are pretty happy with, selling their company. Doesn't mean they stop, right? They're going to go and do another one.
Yes.
That's totally fine. But the few people who are miserable, it's not the fact that they sold the company. It's the fact that they didn't have the self leadership initially in order to know what
Mm.
they were going to do and why they're going to do it. I've got a couple of friends in this space who actually they focus on people who've exited and help guide their psyche and
Mm.
what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to know, tell me a little bit more about, I suppose, your own sort of story and what your sort of path to career business, what was that like for yourself?
Yeah. Everyone's got a, rags to riches story. I've got a riches to rags story that I think you appreciate. Right? So I spent about 20 years as a real estate investor and developer and did quite well with that. Actually founded a school about how to invest in real estate. And it was the only semester-based academy that the only way you graduated was you actually had to buy something. You couldn't just learn about it and then go sit on the couch and eat bonbons. You had to actually transact a piece of real estate, buy or sell, it doesn't matter. And because of that accountability, we had a very high success rate in our company. We did quite
Mm.
well. While I was teaching it, I was still active. So I was only teaching what I'd actually done. So I felt very authentic about that. Uh, 2008 rolled around and
Mm.
the multimillionaire real estate guru with an airplane and a house in the suburbs, and it went down to zero, went down to negative. I had not one foreclosure, not two, but 19 foreclosures, bankruptcy, divorce, and clinical depression. It was a very, very
Yeah,
rough time for a lot of people. In my case, I
yeah.
was, sometimes you're depressed, you think about killing yourself. And usually the thought comes in and goes away in a couple seconds, so you don't do it. And I got very nervous because that thought came into my brain and it lingered. It stuck around every single day. And I caught myself many, many times looking at a gun on my desk or looking at that truck driving the road, saying what it would feel like to jump in front of it. And the thoughts lingered. It was very, very depressing and scary and
Mm.
bloody awful. So along the way before that, I was a positive guy. I was a Dale Carnegie graduate. I taught it. I did goal setting for my students. I read all the books from Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar. Now in this state,
Mm.
I'm messed up. I go back to the same books that got me there, think I could, hey, rekindle my energy and get back in the game.
Mm.
Didn't like any of them anymore. I thought they were all idiots,
Mm.
liars,
Yeah,
charlatans. And I'm like, I used to love this stuff. Not anymore. Now it's just the new Doug dismissed it all. I'm driving the road one day, putting CDs in, like, you're a jerk. You're a liar. I put one CD in 9 months of clinical depression, gone in 6 seconds. Gosh, I didn't take drugs. I didn't go to therapy. I had this CD, and in 6 seconds, I'm
mm.
cured. Who is this guy? I got to know. So I pull the CD out. I look at the label. It was me. It was my CD that I had made back in the day when I was happy and positive and teaching
Yeah,
people how to invest in real estate. Here I am, a broken man, bankrupt, listening to this old guy who was happy
yeah,
and
yeah,
successful. I'm like, that snapped me out of my funk in 6 seconds, which 9 months of thinking about it and some a little bit of therapy didn't do.
yeah,
But subconsciously, I snapped out of it instantly. It was so amazing. And because of that, I created this is back in 2012, right? It took me a couple years to get here.
yeah,
I created something that is coming out rather soon, next month or so. But it basically helps anybody snap out of their junk or more importantly, you don't have a riches to rags story, mainly rags to riches, helps you accomplish your goals through a very intuitive and subconscious process that is not woo-woo. I'll break it down for you real simply if you want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know how you might have read the book, I don't know, Think and Grow Rich, Art of War, these public domain classic books. And when we read those, it's classic because they're timeless wisdom within them. However, some of the stories and numbers are kind of dated, when Napoleon Hill talks about, hey, you can get a good breakfast in New York for 20 cents. You just go, well, that's great for 1934. But nowadays, it's, add a couple of zeros, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 zeros. So what we have done is we've taken a handful of public domain books and I've rewritten all of them in 4 different personalities, right? So a person goes on this website and says, hey, I like my own personalized version of this book. They answer some questions. We capture their personality, their goals, obstacles, and perfect lifestyle. And then our system rewrites the entire book with their personality. So it reads like them. It's got their name on the cover, authored by Napoleon Hill and James Dean. And it reads like, oh my gosh, this is a book that I love because my favorite topic. It's me. And it's got my goals embedded throughout and current stories. And then after you read this book, whether it's digital or print or even audio, a text message comes in. Hey, James, good job sticking to your habits today. Here's what you should be doing, blah, 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 blah. Every day, a reminder and a text message. And the fun part, what came from this story was I also send them a voicemail from the future. Hey, it's 2030. You're on a beach in Hawaii with your family, having a great life. Your mortgage is paid off. Thank goodness you took the steps you needed to do back in good old 2025.
Yeah.
So we've got the system out. It's in beta right now, but it'll be available for your listeners probably sometime in November.
Wow. I mean, there's so much in there. Thank you for sharing. We're going to go through so much of it there. But I mean, that's the first thing. Thank you for sharing that bit about your story, about yourself as well, because I really appreciate that. And I think it's also important for people to hear, because other people have shared similar stories before with me, is the fact that we as a society need to continue to keep talking about it, to be able to listen to it, sort of become uncomfortable with the conversation, but then still listen and keep going through with it. You know what I mean? Because the easiest thing to do is kind of, I don't want to hear it almost and turn away from it.
Oh, just get back on the horse and do it again. It's not so easy sometimes.
No, absolutely. But what I found was really interesting, and I think and some people, I'm sure, will resonate, the whole listening to people in this space of well-being, personal development, whatever you call it, the people that you admire, and then you're hearing them, then you just want to tell them to whatever, you don't know, shake type thing, Right. But it's really interesting that it was your own voice that got back into you, in a sense of what you probably needed to hear from yourself, but you couldn't almost hear it internally. Does that make sense? You needed to hear it externally. It's really interesting.
And it's weird because most people don't like the sound of their own voice.
Sure.
I remember as a kid growing up, I pick up the phone and people would say, Charlotte? I said, no, it's not my mother. It's me, just before my voice changed. So normally people, you don't like your voice, but in this case, like it or not, in my case, it definitely snapped me out of it. So as we've tested this with a bunch of organizations like New York Life and Rotary and whatnot, we had 100% open rate on the book and a 97% satisfaction rate with the system of basically a personalized book and accountability system.
No, because I think that, going on to that, what you just shared about this, what's coming out there, it's really interesting, because if you think then with the current rate and advent of AI and the way that sort of various different chats and stuff, which I use myself, obviously, for various different things, my business or the podcast and stuff, and that thing of it kind of sort of mimicking or creating your own sort of voice, but sort of have it in a, as you say, a remodeling or a rewriting of those books that I'd say there. In a more, not even just a modern way, but a much more specific way is really could be really impactful, because I've read obviously Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich, and it sometimes when you're reading it, you feel you should be wearing a top hat and a monocle. Do you know what I mean? You are literally because of when it was wrote, the time and period. So the fact that bringing it forward to a generation that's a bit
Right.
more palatable, I don't know if that's the right word.
Absolutely. And to be clear, we didn't touch any of the stories in a major fashion. I
Sure.
left in the JP Morgan story. I left in these
Yep.
stories. What we did is we added on Jeff
Yes.
Bezos, Elon Musk story to bring it
Yes.
into the present day, and we changed
Yes.
all the numbers on it. So the breakfast was not 20 cents.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
modernized it, but we kept the essence and the
Gotcha.
wisdom that's in that book and all the
Yeah.
books, including Art of War,
Yeah.
Science of Getting Rich, a bunch of them. And then just to tease people, version 2.0 in probably first quarter of next year, we'll be able to offer this exact program for any author.
Interesting.
So any author, nonfiction for now, I haven't figured out the
Sure.
fiction
Sure.
version yet, but for any nonfiction author, no matter what it is, we'll be able to take our program, which is, yes, there is some AI there, but there's also some human intervention to
Yep.
make it read well, because AI hallucinates. I can't put a whole book in AI and
Yep.
not have
No.
hallucinations. It's not doable.
Yeah.
So we do some manual things there. We humanize it ourselves first, and then we load it into our system, and it comes out beautifully. But yeah, for right now, it's some classic books. There's about 5 in
Yeah.
our library right now that can be redone for any individual and any corporation. So if a company
Interesting.
wanted to
Yeah.
have that book into their sales team or operations team, we
Yes.
customize for the corporation, put their logo on there, and each individual person gets their own version of a classic book with, and those stories will be more corporate
Yeah.
oriented, right? So if it's
Yes.
National Association of
Yes.
Realtors, there'll be realtor stories in there to make that
Yes.
realtor really understand what's possible and what's going to happen for them if they engage.
Hi, James here. If you've been watching and thinking, I would like to make a change, but not sure where to start, that's where I can help. My 12-week coaching program will enable you to reconnect with what matters most and move forward with clarity and confidence. If that sounds like you, head over to jamesdeancoach.com. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah. I'm actually, it's going to sound weird, but I'm getting sort of like goosebumps listening to it, because
Thank you.
the reason being, though, no, you won't, because we can, on the one side of the tech AI sort of argument, is it's going to destroy the world. And no one's going to have a job. Everything's going to be, but you say automate, but it's like, but it's not, but it's, and I was talking to a lady recently in Ireland who she's been like always at the forefront of any sort of technology in Ireland. Literally the delivery of the first computers back in the 70s, that sort of stuff in the financial services system, services sector. And it's the reminding that technology is a tool, and technology is a way of making things a little bit easier, bit more productive. But as you said, the reason I think of going so interested and excited at what you're explaining is it's very much using the tech as a tool with the human element, but it's the whole thing of personalizing something,
Yes.
because that is because so many people or anybody, when you're looking at anything, any product or service that you want to invest in, you very much want to know, well, does this speak to me? In a sense of the most basic thing is like, do I see myself
Uh-huh.
wearing that
Right.
pair of running shoes or wearing that t-shirt or whatever? So if your book is, or whatever it is, version, audio, visual,
Everything.
paperback, whatever it is that sort of personalized, but it's also, am I right in thinking when you're saying it, it's about the here and now, but it's also the moving forward? Is it about the
Yes.
sort of,
Right. It's very much that, because a lot of times when we look at things, we'll talk about growing a business for a moment.
yeah,
We look
sure.
at where we are, we look
Yep.
at what we've done, and there's like, potholes and fires and crap here, and there's whatever you got right now. And then there's this other component. I'm looking at somebody else. Oh, how'd they do that? Oh, and
Yeah.
I'm trying, oh, wow, they did so well with that. And then we come back to our future. And optimists, they never see the obstacles. This is going to be great. This is going to be perfect, right? When they get into it in the present, there's always obstacles. So there's this yin and yang of like, I've got this thing, I can see it in my head. I'm a visionary. I get it. I also know those obstacles. How do I get around them? I don't know. I'll figure it out depending on your personality, which, by the way, we rewrite this 4 times for 4 personalities. So it's really dialed into who you are.
Yeah.
When you are looking at the future, and in our system, we do address the perceived obstacles you're going to face and address them
Mm,
in the book. So it's not just, hey, rah, this is all about you. It's
yeah.
here's your plan. Here's your perceived obstacles. Here's some ways to plan to get around them right now. So when you hit them, you go, well, yep, execute,
Yeah.
the beta plan or whatever it is. So
Yes,
it's a
exactly.
complete system to get where you want to go. And it's entirely flexible because once you generate this, and let's say you hit goal number 1, what's next? We'll go
Yeah.
back, click the button, do another version for goal 2. Maybe one's
Yes.
personal, one's professional, one's business, one's
Yes.
family. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
These books, these classic books address a lot of things, both health, wealth, and relationships.
Yes, absolutely. I think as well that's a really interesting point, and something to say as well, because people could think, oh, it's just purely about business. You know what I mean? In the sense of, no, that depending on whatever the point in your life or where it is you're trying to
Yeah.
work on or develop, it can all work. I think that's
Mhm.
a really powerful thing. It's so it's the I don't know to excuse my ignorance for anyone else is out there, but it's the first time I've ever heard of something like this, Doug. Are you
It
is
is
this
new.
pioneering? Yeah,
I came up with it, back before AI was out there, right? And I looked at my
sure.
old documents and I saw the word artificial intelligence that I had written down in 2012. I'm like, oh, you're onto something here, Crow. And then
Yeah, yeah,
recently, and here's the story goes. I developed this in a very rudimentary find and replace version, very low tech. And I took it out there to the world. That's why I got New York Life and Rotary to test it and give me these great results. But then I
yes,
took it to he's since passed, but he took it to a very successful entrepreneur, Chet Holmes. And Chet's a New York Times bestseller, great guy. He looked at my system and said, wow, Doug, that's really cool. But my audience, and he worked with, thousands of 8, 9 figure entrepreneurs. They said, what do I want with the $100 product? Why don't you just write a full size book and charge 50 grand? And so I'm like, so based on Chet, like I sort of set it aside and started becoming a ghostwriting publishing company. I'm doing that for
yes.
15 years now. And then recently, I don't know what caused me to go back to it. Probably, something with AI. I'm like, oh, wow, I should take a look at that again. And I built my MVP on it. And wow, it's even better because in the old days in 2012, I had one book, mine, that I rewrote 4 times. Now I got classic literature. Next year, anybody's nonfiction book I can put in the system and personalize it for all their readers.
So yeah, I was just gonna because you brought me into it actually, because obviously you've been doing the sort of the ghostwriting and the
Yeah,
authoring of the
right.
for so long now. What was it? Was that something in relation to writing, creativity? Was that always something that you were into, or is it because it came about because of
My
the business?
degree was in radio, TV, and film, so I spent some time in the radio and behind the scenes on television. But yeah, strangely, I was working at I think ABC, and Robert Allen came in for an interview at the TV station. And after his interview, I'm making $3.10 an hour working the lights there. I go up to him at the interview. Hey, this real estate thing sounds really cool. How do I do that? Well, come to my workshop this weekend, young man. It's only $5,000 and make $3.10 here. And to his credit, he said, that's okay. Go to the library and check out my book. No money down. So I got it. I read it. I sat on my butt for a year and I finally started buying real estate. So I got into real estate through television and did
Yes,
very well as a real estate developer. And
yes,
then, of course, this came up. And during my little boohoo phase when I was, broken, I
yeah,
wrote a book about it, and the book sucked. And I called up a couple of people you've heard about that were on my show. They were Robert Kiyosaki and Laura Langmeyer. Both said, "Hey, man, we're best-selling authors. We're not best-selling writers." I'm like, "Oh, ghostwriting." So we've developed our own plan for journalism, ghostwriting, developmental editing, production, and now distribution, where I can take anybody's story idea and get it into, corporations and associations and nonprofits in about a 12-month period of time. We guarantee distribution for that service for our enterprise clients. Yeah.
interesting. But am I right in saying then that your sort of career path in some ways is a bit, I don't know if say accidental, but it wasn't necessarily like you
100%
had some
accidental.
sort
You
of,
can say accidental.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
was
it
planning
wasn't
getting
like,
into
oh, I had a grand plan.
I was planning on being in the media after college and working
Yeah,
at a TV station, doing the lighting. I'm not going to make a career out of that. Real estate guy comes
Sure.
in, that sounds cool, I do that. Real estate
Yes.
crash, okay, I read a book, here I am. So yeah, it's
Yes.
every those two big pivots are both accidental, depending
Yes.
on what your belief system is. And
Sure. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
so I'm very passionate about both my tracks now of ghostwriting pure nonfiction for business authors, and then
Yes.
unrolling this concept author meld where I can personalize it for all my
Yeah.
clients and future clients.
Yeah. No, I love it. And because obviously you did obviously with the retailer business, and then obviously what you do now. So obviously businesses as a whole, whatever is a massive thing that you've been involved in, running businesses, building businesses. And obviously because of the crash, going from however high it was to zero. What would you say, and being for doing it for so long, what would you say have you been is the biggest lessons you take from being in business for as long as you
Yeah.
have?
It depends on what day you ask me the question. Today I'm going to answer, right? Because we have thoughts in our brains, and the most current thought,
100%.
because I've been rewriting Think and Grow Rich now for a couple of companies,
Yeah.
trying to orient their value systems and their history into their version of their book for them and
Yes.
their constituents. We've got one that's going to go out to several thousand of their employees. So the thing that's most impressive to me, or most timeless to me, is that book. Because
Yeah.
as business owners, we try things, and we try them either too long or not long enough. Depends on, we don't know. I'm going to try this marketing thing. I'm going to try this thing, and it works, doesn't work. We don't know. But one thing I've learned from the book recently is that when you have definiteness of purpose, when it's like, I'm going to do this, I don't care what happens, and the universe yields to that. Okay, fine. I'm going to give you all these obstacles, I'll give you a growth period, and slap you around, and see what you're really made of, test your metal. But as soon as you say, I'm going to not quit, so you better just yield to me, things open up. Like the guy that wanted to work with Edison. I forget his
Yes.
name, but yeah, he
Yeah.
said, I'm going to work with Edison, not for him. And he shows up at his doorstep, like, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to go away. But he wouldn't leave. He just made it happen. And the few times that happens, I've talked to other entrepreneurs and some big business people. When you see someone who's like, this is going to happen, at first you think they're kind of crazy, but
Mm.
if they're not a wackadoodle, if they're just like, no, this is going to happen, you're attracted to that. It's like, wow, that person's
Yes.
really committed. That's
Yes.
why big dreams attract more resources than small ones, because it's like, wow, they're going to change the world. I want to be part of that.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting one, because I think I shared this with another person I spoke to on the show recently, in the sense that I'm going to give this podcast as an example of that sort of very thing, because I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and we went a couple of months ago, went through the 100th episode. But sort of this time, roughly about this time last year, I was kind of like, oh, do I keep going? Do I do, that's that
Right.
moment of like, do I keep going? It is, the time and all this sort of stuff. And I just took a break. I took a pause. I was like, still doing the odd one here and there. And I was just like, I just needed to sit on this. And then it was earlier this year again, when I was like, hadn't spoken to anyone like yourself in such a long time. And I was like, it was this thing of like, I just need to do it. It's too important for me not to do it, and then as soon as I kind of went back into it, whereas in the previous sort of 2 years, I was chasing people. Oh, will you come on
Yeah.
this? Will you
Right.
do this? Will you? And as soon as I went, I just need to do this. And then people like yourself are reaching out to me. And I was just like, right. If you kind of like that thing of like, if you just stop the resistance in yourself, the resistance elsewhere seems to just
That's
kind
so
of,
true. That's so true. Yeah.
do you know what I mean? It's like, and I was resisting almost doing it because it was hard. But it's like, yeah, but it's not easy. Shit's not easy. So, but and it's like, and you have all these sort of reasons why you don't do things, or why you should give them up, and you kind of go, if you really call yourself on it, they're excuses. They're not reasons. They're just, you know, exactly. So you kind of have to just call your own BS out, really. And once you do that, it's amazing what starts to come your way. It
Have you
really
ever
is.
done the 5 why exercise? You ask why 5 times.
Yes. Really cool, that
And
one.
somebody did that with me a few years ago, and I've been using it a lot lately for myself, for my
Yes.
wife, for some clients, and I'm sure you've done that with your podcast. Like, why am I doing this? Like,
Yeah.
well, why is that important? And what does that mean
Yes.
for you? You keep ask it
Yes.
5 times, you're like, there you get to the core pretty darn quickly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a really, really powerful one. No, I love that. One of the things I was looking at before we came on, I was just having a little bit about yourself. Then is Doug, there's a huge amount of travel that you've done
Yes, yes.
in your life. Of an avid traveler myself, what because just the amount you've done, I would be remiss not to ask, what does travel or that sort of do for
Gosh,
you?
it's so much. There's so many little, memes on the journeys and travel, and all who travel aren't lost, all those things. Yeah, I again, this is partly related to my big dip when I got bankruptcies and divorce and all that, and
Mm,
I was like, okay, now what? It didn't happen right away. I had no money, but after I had a little bit of
sure.
cash flow together, I was homeless, man. I mean, I couch surfed for a good year with some very very dear friends as I was getting back on my feet, and well, as soon as I back on my feet, I'm like, you know what? It's cheaper over in Asia than it is here. I started traveling. And yeah, to the audience here, I've been to 45 countries, all 7 continents, including Antarctica. Strangely enough, I don't speak a whole lot of other languages, just little bits and pieces of a few, 2 or 3. But I'm insanely curious, and
Mm,
hopefully, I'm less judgmental than I was years ago, which really helped when I was in the Middle East because that was a bad time in America after 9/11 and stuff. And I went there a few years later, and I'm like, come on, it's a lot of media hype. So traveling makes you more of a world citizen. I still very much love my country, whatnot, but I also am not so arrogant to think that we're the center of the universe, even though we're the center of all the maps out there. We're not the center of the universe.
yeah.
We have 5% of the global population is USA. The rest is other people, other languages, other cultures. So I'm
Yes.
insanely curious. I love it. I love studying other cultures. I love meeting new people. I love traveling. And then a couple years ago, I during my travels, met a beautiful Philippine woman and got married. And now we've got a house and a dog. So the traveling is a lot less. But during the
Yeah.
pandemic, we actually couldn't leave our countries, and we found sanctuary in Brazil. So we went to Brazil to meet up. And it's funny because we had a 30-day visa, and we ended up extending, extending, extending. We ended up living there for 6 months. We just love that country. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I when my when I on Facebook I posted accidentally moved to Brazil.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I love thank you again. I love that story again because again it's the thing of the openness of traveling, of what may come. And he's saying, and how that, again, that it can, I'm sure when you first decided to set out traveling, that wasn't the intention that you'd meet someone that you'd end up,
Not
getting
really.
married. It's one of those things again. But I love the word that you used there, which was curiosity.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, I think sometimes we can just, if we can grasp onto that word a little bit more and be curious
A
in all
lot more.
situations, rather than judgmental, try and understand a little bit more, try and ask a question, and then it's the being willing to listen as well
Mhm.
and really take it in and just because I think as you're right is like if you do meet just people.
I was an exchange student in high school to Japan for 3 months. I got to live there for a little while. That
Wow,
really helped.
love it.
But I
Yeah,
swear, if you ever wanna, like, tackle world peace, just teach curiosity,
yeah, yes,
and it would solve everything if people would just set aside your own beliefs for just a moment, not your values, right? That's from Adam Grant. "I'm gonna
yes,
keep my values," right? That's fine.
yes,
But your beliefs? Come on.
yeah,
Left, right, center, we all share the same thing. We share what is it? 37% of our DNA is the same DNA of a turnip. So don't tell me
yeah.
for a second that somebody with different political belief, race, different country, you don't share 99.99999% of his DNA and his upbringing and his values of wanting to live in peace and harmony. Come on. So we're all just using different ways to express the same thing. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No, I agree, and I think we won't go too far down that rabbit hole because,
yeah.
but it's like I have this thing at the moment, and I find myself I'm still wanting to be curious, even in the sort of societal and political space. But I find myself, the frustration I find myself sometimes when watching or listening anything is from any person, just the wanting and willingness to think and having the wanting to be right all the time and the proving the other person wrong. And it's always coming from a position of not curiosity, of
Yeah.
statement of fact
Yeah, I'm gonna
versus
debate
of
you and
kind of,
twist your words to against you. I'm like,
yeah,
shut up. Why don't
yeah,
you just find out what the why they think that way and talk to them as a
exactly.
human being? So yeah,
And
I
yeah,
become less political as I get older because I realize the futility of it. It's
yeah.
just ridiculous. Just be
But
curious
it,
about
but
the
it
people
go,
you disagree with.
But I think to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, though, and I think almost in some ways the antithesis of that sort of part of negative of discourse at the moment in public, in sense of that, well, it's not real discourse; it's just arguing, really. What you're doing and what you're launching at the moment of in the sort of literary space of getting into enabling people to be curious about themselves in some ways, by having the book, getting that sort of personalization. I want to go back to it because it's like, because it's kind of very much in some ways we call them the self-help book, if we want to, that
Yeah, yeah.
phrase, but whatever that sort of phrase was,
We used
but
to call it shelf help.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly,
I use the word self development as opposed to self help for that reason.
yeah, but
Continue. Go ahead.
but it's no, but the point I'm saying is like, but this is getting into another level of it because it's not, it's kind of like, it's in some ways it's kind of like what I'm doing is instead of like, it's the entry level into coaching, if you know what I mean. It's the entry level into potentially working with someone, because it's that sort of getting yourself to ask those questions yourself. So even the point you said earlier, I didn't touch on it, but okay, anticipating the things that may go wrong,
Hmm.
anticipating the things that you're going to struggle with, and maybe here is some ways and means of
Hmm.
tackling those things, because it's, and I think from you sharing your story as well, so honestly, if all the things that have happened with the businesses and breakdown of relationships is like, life is life. It's how do you respond in any of the situations? And you said it earlier as well about when people start comparing because someone else has got this or someone else has got that.
Right.
There's also, I think, when I talk to people or work people, if you're so sort of internal sometimes, you believe that you're the only one that thinks or feels a certain way
Yeah. Yeah.
and no one else could. And it's opening yourself up to go, no, everyone has their own struggles. It's not
Yes.
just you. But
Right.
if you open that up, it's a lot more liberating than potentially isolating.
There's a. Do you see the movie Inglorious Bastards?
Yes, yes.
Okay. There was an interview recently I saw where someone's talking about. I think it was Steve Bartlett or somebody asking Christoph
Mm,
Waltz about how is it that you play this evil character so perfectly, and Christoph Waltz says, "I don't understand the question." Yeah, you played that evil character so sinister. And goes, he wasn't evil. Nobody who's evil thinks they are. They think they're the right, and you are the evil one. And if you can, I mean, that's an actor talking, right? So he really
yeah,
understands this. But what, yeah, you can leave politics aside if you want, but it happens in business, families, whatnot. Someone does right or wrong. Yeah, certainly there's right or wrong. But setting that aside, I mean, why did they do that? What were you thinking? And before you rush to judgment, ask the five whys.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
a very, very famous story, maybe true. I don't know. I'm not going to back this up, of a guy on a train sitting there reading the paper and these kids running down the aisle, right? And they're noisy. They hit his paper. He's irritating. And he goes to the woman and says, "Excuse me, can't you handle your kids here?" And she says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I, I didn't realize it. They were just leaving their father's funeral today." That changes the dynamic quite a bit. Once he's angry, but as soon as he understands the why, he's like, all is forgiven, right?
Yes,
So before you judge somebody who's cutting off in traffic, my wife and I always have this funny joke, like, "Oh, they're probably on the way to the hospital right now." I never
yeah,
judge why they're driving inappropriately because you never know.
yes,
It
yes,
makes me calmer when I drive.
yeah, yeah.
Curious.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I'm in because I want to go back another bit in relation. You said about the sort of getting out of that moment or the time when you put the CD in and you heard yourself and you started to get back yourself. That was a moment and you started to get back
Hmm.
on your own feet, 2 feet. Was there any sort of, barring that one moment there, were there any other sort of things that you think, steps that you took that enabled you to get back to where you were? Was it just getting back into work, or was it more internal stuff? Was what
Yeah.
kind of got you building those steps forward?
Out of that experience, when I created the author meld,
Yeah.
personalized book and accountability system, I started thinking about actions and beliefs and results. And most people think you take an action and that creates a result and that creates your belief. Some people think, oh, you got to believe something first, then take the action and that creates a result. So they go linear. Either it starts with, fake it till you make it or do it and prove it, right? These are the two discussions. And when I'm thinking about this, I go, oh, I got the answer for you. It's a circle.
Yeah. Yes.
Belief creates actions, creates results, which reinforces your belief. It's not linear.
Yeah.
It's a circle. So I don't
Yes.
know where you start. You want to start with belief, and fine. You want to start with action, probably. We start with results, kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
Start
Yeah.
with actions or belief, but I tell you, it's gonna spiral up just as easily as it will spiral down. This is
Yes.
why negative people aren't successful, because they
Yes.
speak negatively in the universe, and the universe says, okay, I'm going to reward you with your belief system. Here's your results.
Yes.
So it's not Pollyanna to say that if you just keep at it and keep believing in positive outcomes, you're going to get some kind of result. It's never what
Yeah.
you expect. That's true.
Yes.
You want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, but it's going to be better than the antithesis of that, which is if I believe negative, you're going to go down the sewer.
Yes.
Positive people hang out with other positive people for a reason. It energizes
Yeah.
the whole group.
No, I love that. And but you say it's a real sort of simple way of remembering it. That sort of actions, beliefs, results, and you say whichever order, but just say to keep going on to the next. And I think one of the big lessons that I had, and it kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier, in the sense of we're down in the podcast or continues as a coach and all this sort of stuff, is like that results piece. It's you kind of have to accept whatever the result is. Because if you try and anticipate or try and, this is where it's like I have the whole thing of goal setting or goals and things
Yeah.
like that or
Yeah.
targets is kind of like, yeah, have them. But if you just literally just tie yourself to that number,
Yeah.
uh, that can mess you up. So
Totally.
you kind of have to accept the result for what it is, whether it be positive, negative, mediocre, and just then keep going. Because you can, if you get the one that just smashes that out of the park, you thinking, that's it, I made it, sit back,
Right?
wait till the next
Especially people that are
quarter.
lucky, that luck into something.
Yes.
It's like, not what's your method?
Yes.
Lucky. One of my old coaches told me, it was very clear about what we tracked as doing my LinkedIn outreach. He says,
Yeah.
stop tracking your lagging indicators, track your leading ones.
Yeah.
So it's fine to have leading indicator goals. Hey, I need to do X number of calls or emails, whatever, every single day to be successful. But you start focusing on your output, your numbers, they're always lagging. They're never linear.
Yes.
Sometimes there's going to be outside what you're doing, karma, whatever. So yeah, you're right on that. I really prefer to track my habits and my leading
Yes.
indicators, make sure I'm doing what I believe is right, and then
Yes.
assess it way down the line. Okay, that worked
Yeah.
pretty well. I could have modified that a little
Yes.
bit. So it kind of feels like you're going slowly, but it's
Yes.
much better than spinning your wheels. So
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really valid point. It's like, go back and don't ignore it entirely, but don't be, it's almost like if you do it so minutely at every moment in time, then you're just going to keep tripping yourself up because you just lose yourself. Love it. So much in this, Doug. It's just I'm so intrigued about this thing that you're launching. I
yeah,
really
you
am. I
want
think
you
it's going
want
to
you
be
want your own
terribly
version of author
exciting.
meld for your book, don't you? Yeah.
It's so interesting. It's like because it's I'll share again. It's like with yourself. It's like I have to say, doing this question and this show for so long, and the people that I've heard about, that's always in the back of my mind of bringing it all together, all the themes that people have talked about and stuff like that. So it'll be there and that. But I find it. But what I love is I love the nuance on things. You know what I mean? It's like I
Yeah.
love that sort of edge that someone is like, because in some ways you think, well, how can we diversify literature? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? How can you make literature different?
Yes.
And borrow you know what I mean? And so that's why I find really interesting about it.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
very excited about that because I've seen the progression in the past couple decades,
yeah,
right? Of print
Yes.
only. Then the Kindle came out, now Audible. And my big dream is to have that fourth button on
Yes.
Amazon. Like, here's your personalized version of that book. Right?
Yes.
That's where I'm headed with this, because I believe that,
Yes.
and not to be arrogant, this is just because I believe that I can disrupt the way we consume information.
Yes.
I
Well,
think
that's
that
it.
I'm working on my TEDx talk about mass personalization. We've gone through the
Yes.
industrial age, the information age, we're in the AI age now, but I think that one size does not fit all.
No.
And you've seen a lot of customization in other areas of the industries, in clothing, of course,
Yep.
print on demand, but
Yep.
personalizing it for each individual person you've been unable to do that at scale because of the
Yes.
technology constraints and the actual printing constraints. But now we have
Yes.
print on demand publishing and AI and some creativity with some other systems all
Yeah.
bolted together. You've got an accountability
Yeah.
system that works 97,
Yeah.
98% of the time.
Yeah. 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 Very, very, very cool. And I think, as you say, it's that word again it's a really interesting word of the whole thing of disruption as well. It's kind of like, let's change it up. Let's do it. But I think what also it just shows in doing this, what you're doing is and I think demonstrate from the chat we've had so far is you're obviously willing enough to, would it be right to say, to take a risk, to put yourself out there, to try something new?
All the time. Every day I do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes big ways,
Yeah.
sometimes small ways. But if you don't put yourself out there and try things, your status quo, nature does not work that way. You're growing
Yeah.
or dying. It's an old quote in business, of course,
Yeah.
but it's true in nature. So why isn't it true for us? I mean,
Yes.
yeah, you've got to put yourself out there and try things. And here's the last thing I'll say on that topic. I think it'd
Yeah.
be very
Yeah.
helpful for people. A lot of people are afraid to try things publicly, right? Oh, I
Yeah.
don't want to do a YouTube channel. I'm afraid to put my face out there. I don't want to make this post because it might offend somebody, whatever the reason is. And people they so forget how insignificant they are. It's like no disrespect. I've got a podcast, you've got one. How many people on a percentage basis are watching our shows out of 8 billion? Whatever, we got a couple thousand, whatever. Okay, great,
Yeah.
wonderful. Even
Yeah.
100,000, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's not even a
Yeah.
city in one country. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and try things, because number one, hardly anybody knows you exist. And number two, people generally applaud the messy starter. Hey, he tried something, it was ugly, it didn't, but he tried. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we celebrate. We celebrate effort more than results,
Yeah.
quite frankly. So by trying
Absolutely.
something, number one, you're not that important, you're not that significant. And number two, we forget everything. Do you know what you clicked on the internet yesterday?
Jesus.
Right? Do you know what comment you made 48 hours ago on someone's post?
No.
No. So
No.
reverse that.
Yeah.
That's you, man. That's me.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
After somebody watches this episode, I guarantee you 24 hours later, they're going to retain like two things out of the
Yes.
whole hour we spoke. So
Absolutely.
extrapolate that by a day or a week or a month or a year. Don't
Yes.
worry about it. Try things.
Exactly.
It's not that significant. And if it does pick up, then hallelujah, you will become significant and impactful. But you're not going
Yeah.
to do that without trying. And you're not going
No,
to try to do
absolutely.
that without trying in a very ugly and messy fashion, because
Absolutely.
perfection is an illusion. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I love, because it's, and I was thinking about this again earlier or yesterday, I think it was, this whole thing of the idea of the cliche of everyone is unique. You are, but you're also the same as everybody else. It's the holding those two things at the same time. It's like, I remember when I've talked to people previously about, social media or posting things online or going or doing this, and they think, oh, what if it, and the assumption, the worry is one of it will go, say, viral. And you're like, good luck with that. You obviously don't post online, and then, as you say, the other side of it is like, oh, but what if no one sees? But it's like, the whole point of something goes back to the questions of why. But why are you doing it? Are you doing it because everyone's doing it? Are you doing it because you've got something you want to share? Are you doing it because you think it means something? Is it going to make an impact? Is it going to be positive, negative? So you don't have to do any of this. That's the other thing, is you don't have to do this. It's like, you get to do it. And what do you want to do it? But why do you want to do it? Because I always joke in a sense of like, I could do a post that I think, oh, this is going to be quite impactful, powerful, it's a lot of meaning behind this or whatever. And it's like, this is a great coaching question or whatever. And I go, I don't think there's a bit of impact. It's like, put a picture of my dogs, and that's the one that gets all the feckin' likes. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of like, you just got to just do what you don't try. Again, it's going back to the results thing. Do what you think is how you want to put yourself out into the world in whatever guise.
Yeah.
And that's it. Because if you try and guess or think, or if it's purely for the validation, then you're onto it.
Yeah. Vanity metrics. Have you seen the movie The Social Dilemma? They nailed how insidious that that addiction is. How they've constructed it so eloquently for likes and clicks and shares and comments. It's dopamine on steroids. It's massive. And if you're an entertainer, if you're entertaining people, that's great. That's visibility. That's branding. That's great. If you're a marketer or a business person, it's helpful. But I've been on Facebook since that started. I've got 5,000 people. I've never had a single client come from that. It's all social, purely social, high school friends, things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But business I get from relationships and LinkedIn.
Absolutely, 100%. Doug, there's a few questions I like to ask every guest when they come on. So the first one is, are there any quotes or phrases that are important to you?
Yes, one I have in my profile is, live every day as though it's your last, because someday you'll be right. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Is that noise bothering you?
No, not at all. It's all good.
Pick up your phone, Jen. That's my computer going. Sorry about that.
So no worries. So we'll let it ring out, and then I might ask you it again.
Yeah, I'm sorry to make you edit this. I can get up and go turn it off if you want.
Yeah, no worry. Yeah, go work away. You can turn it off if you want, or it's up to you.
Go ahead, ask it again. I'm sorry to edit.
Yeah, so not at all. So what is there a quote or phrase that's important to you, Doug?
The one that I kind of live by as much as I can is live every day as though it's your last, because someday you'll be right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's obviously very poignant for yourself, considering where you were and what you went through as well personally. So it is and such a valid one. And I think it's because there was another lady I spoke to recently. I think her episode just went out where she when I asked her, I think the first question, the what's important to you question, and she said, noticing I'm alive while being alive. Do you know what I mean? And similar to what you're saying, it's like, it's that thing of real consciousness. So when you say about live every day as if it's your last, it's like, it's having that active consciousness that you are here right now, to remind yourself, as you say, whether you're stuck in traffic, whether the barista got your coffee wrong, whatever, all these things that could you get you all that sort of, but you're here. Yeah. Switch yourself back into that sort of place of gratitude or gratefulness or thankfulness, whatever it is. But consciousness of being conscious is. So I think it's a lovely one.
My Buddhist friends are the most peaceful people I know.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Second question I ask everyone: who do you think have been the biggest influences in your life?
Oh, my dad. And my mom too. I had to compare my, but my dad, we shared a lot of, and he wasn't my personality. We had a lot in common, but he was a great guy. They made it to 97 before he passed. Man, I just, I miss him every single day. And great wisdom, great humor. I think that's one of the reasons he lived so long, because he laughed at everything. He was gracious to everybody. So he's my absolute number one mentor.
Yeah, love it. No, thanks for that. So I have to share now as well, because I would have said my dad as well, actually. And it's funny that because I was thinking about it the other day. He passed away 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I had to go to the dentist the other day. Hadn't been terrible going to the dentist.
That was my dad's career. He was a dentist. But go ahead. Yeah.
No way! Oh my god, that's hilarious. So I hadn't been in years, and I was like, I better go for a checkup. And then when I went, it was like literally only just 2 sort of fillings I had to get replaced. I was like, Jesus, I got away with that, because I hadn't been for so long. Went in, got them done. Obviously, don't particularly like it at all, but got it done. The fillings and the injection, all that sort of stuff. And it reminded me of my dad, because whenever he went to get dental work, fillings included, he never had any anesthetic, never had any injections, had it all without.
Why?
Because he couldn't stand the injection and the numbness in his face. He would sooner have it without the anesthetic. So it's just like he was tapped.
What a rock. My gosh.
Unreal. Unreal. Yeah.
I'm blown away by that. I'll take a needle stick over a drill for 5 minutes any day of the
I
week.
know. He's
Just the
insane.
noise
I was
alone.
just like, I know. I don't know how, but I was like, oh God, you're a lunatic. I was like, no, give me the drugs. I'll take the numbness. Yeah, it was
Knock
making
me
me laugh
out.
the other day. Yeah,
Give me
exactly.
that gas. I love the laughing gas. I
Yeah.
always yeah.
Stop.
Wow. That's impressive. Good for
No,
you, Dad.
absolutely. It's been wonderful to chat to you, Doug. It really
Thank you
has.
very
I
much.
have
I appreciate it.
one final question for you, which is, what's important for your future?
Wow. For my future. I don't think about myself often enough, I don't think. That's one of the my
Mm,
wife always gives me a hard time about that. Family stuff. I just want to see my kids, my grandkids lead great lives and be joyous and adventurous and take risks. We always say we say goodbye to someone, we say take care. And my good friends always used to leave saying, "Take risk, fly safe." I'm like, I'm not the pilot. I'm a pilot, but not in most commercial planes. I'm not. So it's
yeah,
out of my control. Fly comfortably, maybe. But yeah, I would say take risk. And then most important to me was see my kids take risks and enjoy and have an abundant.
absolutely. No, I love it. As I say, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Doug. I really appreciate your time. I want to make sure that people obviously continue to follow, support, and get involved with, especially what you're doing next. So we'll put links obviously in the show notes. But if you want to give a shout out of where people
Sure.
can follow you
Yeah.
online.
My main personal website is dougcrowe.com. That's Crow with an E. My business site is authoryourbrand.com. And there'll be a link there probably in sometime in November, depending when this airs, for Author Meld, which is an interactive, personalized book and accountability system that we're launching in a beta version sometime in November of 2025. So dougcrowe.com or authoryourbrand.com. You go there and you can reach out to me directly. I'm pretty accessible. I don't have any airs of being somebody I'm not. So your message,
Yeah.
happy to chat.
Lovely. Thank you. So make sure, everyone, you check out those notes in the show notes, the links there. Doug, once again, thank you so much for chatting to me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to What's Important to You. If you enjoyed this episode, follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if it resonated, share it with someone who might need it too. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment or ask a question, and let's keep the conversation going. I'm James Dean, and I'll be back soon with another real conversation to help you reconnect with what truly matters. Until then, take care and stay curious.